Welcome back to Module 5.3, Scaling and Expansion. I'm Shanae. Let's jump right into it. Sometimes the best ways to learn is to make a mistake. Story time. So we've had our restaurant now for 3 years and we did well within our first year. And my first thing was open a second one. Let's get ready. Let's expand. I was ready. I learned quite quickly. It's a lot harder than that. It's not just boom, boom, boom. Now you have a second, third, fourth franchise. One of the biggest things I learned throughout that process is be strategic. Have a plan and don't just run into it wild and thinking it's going to be a piece of cake. When you plan things out and you have a strategy of execution, it'll make actually getting those other locations and expanding and scaling very easy. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but when I think of expansion, I think about going wide. When I think about scaling, I think about going tall. And that could mean a variety of things for different people depending on the industry that you're in. But when it came to us in the restaurant industry, I was very much about doing both. And my problem was I wanted to do both at the same time. And I think that's where I went wrong. Along those same lines, when we think about expansion and going wide, we're also talking about you can do that through a new location or you can do that through partnerships. We love partnerships. We love being able to collaborate with other brands, especially since we have a physical brick and mortar location. And opening up our audience through partnerships, because somebody comes into our restaurant for amazing soul food, but now they find amazing cold pressed juices. And now there's a market for both of us. And it's also data. When it comes to scaling, you will be increasing your operational capacity. So instead of saying, okay, I can only do 3 catering orders a day, when you're talking about scaling, now you're taking on 10 catering orders a day. And that's in-house. That's working on your team. That's working on your infrastructure. That is making sure that you have what you have to go from here to go up here, going tall. I talked about partnerships. Partnerships are a great thing. They require a lot of research though. And you have to make sure that the partnership that you're getting into is beneficial on both ends. And I said partnership, not sponsorship. Now, when we're talking about scaling or expansion, having a timeline is very important. Your timeline should be a plan for everything that you think could happen and for the things that you don't think can happen. Like financially, I would say a minimum of 6 months of revenue is my best recommendation, because everything can go wrong and you don't think that it's going to go wrong. But if you have a savings and you have a backup plan and you have a way to pivot and a way to move, you're in a safe space, no matter how big you're dreaming. Be realistic with that goal. And don't think that you're going to find a space today and you're going to open up tomorrow. Always have some leverage in that space. Also, when it comes to scaling and expansion, having a strong team is going to be your foundation for everything. You could have the money, you could have the space, you could have the recipes, but if you don't have the team, there's not much that you can do without burning yourself out. We don't do burnout. So having a team is important, because if you have your team A over here at your OG store, you're going to now need another team in order for your new store. Whether you are taking some of your strongest here and having them train here, or you're starting with a completely new team, you need to make sure that your team is your solid foundation. When it comes to real estate strategy, working with a great realtor is so important. Like our realtor, for example, he knows exactly what we want. And even though we're not immediately in a space of finding a new location, he will send us lists every single night at like 2 a.m. of all the potential places that are available. Finding an amazing realtor and having someone like that in your back pocket is very beneficial when you're talking about scaling or expansion, because sometimes scaling could also just be getting another kitchen or finding a space that's big enough for you to be able to scale inside. A lot of people are afraid of realtors. You don't have to pay the realtor ever. It's actually the landlord and the person selling or offering that pays the realtor. So don't be afraid of a realtor. So when it comes to location strategy, and if we're talking about a realtor, you should also make sure that you are tracking trends that are happening. Talk to your customers, talk to your clients, see where you are doing catering orders, see where the money is coming from. So for example, Honey Soul Food, we are locating out in Mississauga, which is on the West End. We have clientele from all over the city, but we are seeing a very strong presence of people coming in from the East End. So when we're talking about our location strategy, the best option would be to head east. We have a west, head east. But don't limit yourself, because the perfect opportunity can pop up in New York City. And if that is your opportunity and you are ready, go for it. Let's talk about positive profit margins. Ideally, 10 to 15% monthly or higher indicates that you're ready for growth. And if you're hitting those percentages or higher, look into it. You may be ready to scale, or you may be ready to expand. Once you're hitting those kind of quotas, you should also be in the space to be able to conduct market research and sustainability. So it's important to know where your customers are coming from, and it is very important to know where you should be spending your money. It's really nice if we have an influx of customers coming from a certain space. Is there a long-term impact in that area that's coming in? For example, we had a client, and they were a client that ordered catering with us every single Friday. They were coming from the East End in order to get catering from us. Does that now mean that I'm in a place that I'm going to specifically open up another location in the East End because I know that they are coming in every single Friday? No. That does add to my market research, but it doesn't ideally add to sustainability. Unfortunately, the client did go out of business, which then means if I had solely made a decision to go out east because of them coming in every Friday, I would have been at a loss. So when it comes to market research, that covers a bunch of things. It could cover tracking within your current location, but it could also mean going to the location that you think that you want to go to. And that could be something as simple as doing surveys. It could be partnering with someone within your community and being in their brick and mortar and collecting data that way. It could be tracking trends with AI. Essentially, it's very important to do your market research. I, for example, did not do proper market research when I opened up my restaurant. A lot of times I learned through mistakes or through things that I should have avoided, but I did not. So when I opened up my location, I actually opened it up from a restaurant that was quite similar to what we do in a different sense, probably like 5 minutes away from each other. And if I had done my proper market research, I would have been able to place the maps and be like, whoa, this is kind of close. When it comes to opening up that close to another business that was so similar to mine, we faced a lot of comparison. Me and the business owner, we adore each other. So it's never an actual competition between the two of us, but their customers see it that way. So who's better here? Who's better there? I could have avoided that sense of comparison if I had done my market research properly and put my flagship in a different location. And then also sustainability. So another example, we have, when it comes to finding our second location, we found the perfect spot. We found a fully built out kitchen. We found a dining room. We found even color schemes already done for us. We loved it. And then we went to the actual location and we realized that based on the clients or the customer base that we already have, this location would not have worked for us. So we had to turn down the perfect opportunity of being in a space that was perfect for us because the neighborhood wasn't perfect for us. So these are all things that you have to keep in mind when you're doing market research, but also sustainability. How sustainable is your expansion and scaling plan? Having a pivot plan financially and physically is very important. There will be risks that you have to take every single day. And And that's just a part of the line of work that we do. Also, think about placement. You got to make sure that where you are placing your business, it is perfect for you. For example, if I owned a chicken spot, I'm not going to put my new location beside another chicken spot. We see that happening a lot when it comes to competitive advantage. And that's where you would really have to win it over with everything else, with your branding, with your customer service, with your recipes. So think about it when you are opening up your new location, make sure it's the right spot for you. Let's talk about debt. A lot of times people think debt is a bad thing. And I'm here to remind you that not all debt is bad debt. Sometimes it's better to spend someone else's money versus spending your own money. But you have to have a plan and a very strategic way of making sure that that money isn't going to waste. Don't take on more than you think you can afford. Not know, think you can afford. That's the safest way to go about it. So this structured approach to scaling and expansion fosters sustainable growth and long-term successes. That's the end of our module.